Dark. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Australia, and welcome to my weekly online class to go. So for those who are new either to my Facebook page or YouTube, first of all, welcome. Good to have you here. This is as part of my weekly live video, we make 3 cards, and if you place an order in my online store of $75 or more, so that's before shipping and after any Stampin' Rewards redemption, I will send you the kit to make 2 each of the 3 cards from that week's class. So you've got until the end of Saturday night to get your orders in for that week's class, and I'll get the kits out to you early the following week. So this week we are using the Cute as a Bug suite, and I will just switch my camera around. So these, wrong way. These are the 3 cards that we will be doing tonight. So the stamp set is the Sweet Bugs bundle. So this is the stamp set. You've got sentiments and images, and then the dies. So the dies cut all the images from the stamp set, and then there's a few extras as well, but it also cuts a lot of the images in the paper. So I'll just grab the paper. So let me find, so say with this particular design, some of these images you can cut with the dies. There is another one, let me find it. Oh, there it is, this one. So lots of these images, I think most of these images you can cut with the dies. So there's lots. It's a really cute paper set. I really like it. This one is one of my favorites, and I have used this one in the class, and the red one, Poppy Parade, I do really like that one. And where was the other one of my other favorite ones that I have used? I've got a partial sheet of it there. So what's left of it, this one, I really like this one as well. All right, particularly if you're on the east coast of Australia, hopefully it is starting to cool down a bit for you. Wherever you are, it is still 40 degrees where I am, and unfortunately in this room it is 35 inside. And then probably hotter again under this light. I was hoping to avoid having the overhead light on, but not gonna work. Tried, but yeah, wasn't enough light. All right, so we will start with this one. This one is a really quick and easy card, and I didn't plan it this way, but I kind of started with super easy and just stepped up slightly as I went. Wasn't intentional, but that's the way it ended up going. So for this one we need a Poppy Parade card base, and then we have some of the Designer Series paper, some basic white for the insert, and then just a piece of basic beige for the sentiment, and some of the paper which I've die cut with the textured notes dies. So one thing for anyone who is new with the classes, any die cuts or punches that are not part of the featured bundle are included in your kits, but the die cuts from the featured bundle are not included. You get the cardstock, but not the actual die cuts, because if you're using something else, it doesn't make sense to be getting a die cut for an image that you don't have a stamp set for. So get the cardstock, but you will need to die cut with whatever you happen to be using. All right, let's get started. This one is nice and quick. I just need to make sure I remember the ribbon first. So this is the Old Olive rickrack that's part of this suite. So we're just going to add some across the center, and I'm going to use a bit of tear and tape to hold that down. Once I find the end of it, there we go. The ribbon is just the right width that the tear and tape will fit, which is very handy. Very handy. Alrighty. And sorry, I just need to readjust a few things that are not working properly. There we go. That's better. Hi Dimity. How are you? Alrighty, let's get this one down. And this one is wanting to curl back on itself, but we will get it down before it does that. So we're just going across the center. Just make sure you sort of flatten it out as you stick it down, because it does like to sort of bubble up a bit sometimes. So just make sure it is nice and flat. Alrighty, that's going to fit. I cut the right size, which is always helpful. Okay. Straighten that up a bit. That's better. Okay, and then we will stick this one down. So we're just going to stick that to the basic black, and then onto the front of the card. One down, and you do want to use a fairly strong adhesive for this one, just because the height of the ribbon sometimes, and also the texture sometimes, means that it doesn't stick as well. It can pop up a bit, so you want something that is quite strong, and you want to press down firmly. If you find it is popping up a bit, couple of options. Rather than using the glue, you could use dimensionals and just pop it up over the ribbon, or glue it down and then chuck some of your larger blocks on top and just weigh it down a little bit, just until that glue adheres properly. Now, I just realized my piece is not, because I was cutting from a scrap and it's not a straight piece, which is fine. We will just trim a little bit off the end so it's a bit straighter. And yes, it is a piece that I have stamped on the back, but we're not using that side, so that's all good. I'll just, probably won't matter because it won't be using all the way across, but I will just tidy up the edges a bit. Alright, oh, and then throw it on the floor. Alright, so we need some Mossy Meadow ink and the sentiment. And no, I need to go from this end. I'm actually going to flip that around just because it's a bit, this end's a bit better. And optional extra, so, well, actually first of all, so I'm going to use the 3 banner, the punch to do the banner. So you want this bottom one, so it looks the opposite to the one you want. Looks like you want that one, but because we're bringing the cardstock in from this side, we're not punching the whole shape. You actually want the opposite one to get the banner. So I'm just going to slide that in, and you can use this with pieces that are a bit too big for what you need. You'll just need to trim sort of the excess once you punch. So you can see there's a little bit there, and here comes my dog. Hello, Peggy. Just shoving the door open with her head, as she does. And then we're just going to trim that bit off. If you are cutting a piece that's larger, and so you've got a bit extra to cut off the end, make sure you cut on an angle. Don't just cut that way to cut it off. You need to make sure you go on the angle so that you maintain the banner. And optional extra, I'm going to ink up the edge of this one. I didn't do it on my sample, or did I? No, I didn't. I don't think so. I didn't do it on my original sample, but then I was doing another one yesterday for a video, and I kind of forgot that it wasn't this one that I needed to do this for, and I ended up doing it, and then I thought, yeah, may as well do it for tonight's one because it gives it a little bit of a border, but it's optional extra. So I'm just using the same Mossy Meadow ink. There we go. Alrighty. So now all that is left, we will get some dimensionals. Pop this one up. And then going down in the bottom left corner. And then for the gems, I'm using the holographic resin dots. So just grab a few of those. I'm going to use the largest ones. Even though they are quite big. I might use a mix. Let's go with a mix. I'm going to use 2 of those and 1 of the middle. And we should probably add the insert. That is part of it. that is card number 1 done. Nice and quick and easy. And of course, if you wanted to, you can step this one up and add some of the die cut, stamped and die cut images as well. But I thought for this one, keep it nice and simple, quick and easy. Alrighty, so second one is also a Poppy Parade card base, and I've got bits of paper going everywhere. I'll pick it up later. Alrighty, so this one does have some stamped and die cut pieces, and I haven't coloured them, but I have stamped and die cut just to save a little bit of time. So we've got a couple of pieces of designer series paper, some paper for the sentiment, and a couple of, how'd you get? Come on, there we go. Couple of images. So we will colour those in a bit. Oh, I only need one of the flowers. The flowers are very small, so very easy to lose those, and I need to remember the ribbon as well for this one. So this one we have the DSP on the cardstock. I was going to say Calypso Coral. I'm not sure if that's, yes, that is Calypso Coral. So let's adhere these two together, and then we'll add the ribbon before I forget. I have lost count of the number of times I've adhered cardstock down without the ribbon. Alrighty, so stick those two together. This one is going across the bottom. And we'll use the tan tape again. Might just move that one so it doesn't end up with tape all over it. And just a little bit more for one end. See how it's trying to curl. It is curling. Let's try and straighten this up a bit. I think I've possibly pulled it a little bit too tight when straightening it out. And it may not want to cooperate. Let's see. That we'll have to do. I'll just add a bit more on the end. Okay. And this one goes across the bottom, so just a little bit up from the bottom. Just make sure you don't go too far up otherwise, and I'm just going to double check because you need to make sure you have room for these pieces and then your sentiment panel as well, so that should be fine. That will work. Alrighty. So adhere this one down. Don't think I've forgotten anything else that needs to be added beforehand. If I have, it's almost too late. I think we're good. Alright, let's get that down, move it across ever so slightly. Okay, and then we will adhere these two together. So this is Cajun Craze as the mat for this piece. And that's also what we're using for the sentiment for the border behind sentiment. So we've got a few different colours in this one. Alright, let's get this down. So just make sure you leave enough room between the bottom of that piece and the ribbon so that you've got space for your sentiment. Alright, now let's stamp the sentiment. So we're using Mossy Meadow again for this one. And just make sure you leave a bit of space at either end so that you can punch the banner ends. And we're going to do the same as before with the 3 banner punch. So use the bottom one, cut border. That wasn't as even as I'd like, but yeah, it will do. And then we'll just trim that end so that we can punch. Actually, I'm gonna try and straighten that up. And I may need to stamp again, but that's just a bit too. This may not work. I may need to start over, but I think that's just. Sometimes if it's a little bit off, it's not so bad, but when it's that far off, you kind of want to try and straighten it up. That one's a bit better. And we'll just straighten those ends, and then we need to do the same with the Cajun Craze. So we'll punch one end, and so this one is a little bit wider than the white, so that we can have that border. So we need to factor that in when lining it up to try and get it in the right spot. So we just want fairly thin border, but I'm going to cut a little bit extra so that we've got a little bit of room if we need to adjust. Because chances are I probably won't get it quite right the first time. Let's see, we can punch a little bit more off. So we'll just go again, cut and just hoping I don't end up going too far. And of course you can cut the banner ends manually, so without the punch. If you don't have the punch, I'm not good at doing them manually, so I much prefer the punch, and I think that's just made it. So we'll just straighten up the ends. Alrighty, so let's double check, make sure it's still all good. It's actually a little bit difficult to see right now, but I think that is good to go, so we'll stick that one down. There we go. I think that's pretty good, at least as far as I can see. I'm just got a tiny little bit here to trim off. It is just going to bug me if I don't. That's better. Alrighty. Now we can colour the two little bugs and the flower. So, and you can use whatever colours you have. So don't worry if you haven't got the same colours that I'm using. So I'm using Calypso Coral for the flower, but this could be any colour. And then, so that's that done. And then I'm going to use a mix of light cloud cover and light and dark smoky slate for the bee, for the face and the wings, and the face and the body of little beetle. So I'm just going to start with the cloud cover, and the cloud cover is optional. You could just use the smoky slate, and then I'll just add a bit of the dark, because I don't want to do the cloud cover and then light, then dark, then light, because that's just probably getting a little bit too dark then. And then we'll just come back over with the light. And then I'm just going nice and easy for the Daffodil Delight. So I'm just using just the dark. You can use the light and dark, of course. I'm just going to stick with the one for this one, and you can always add extra in parts to give it a bit more texture. There's the first one done, and then we will come in for this one. So again, we'll start, where's my cloud cover? There it is. And I've got the wrong, no wonder I was getting mixed up. I've got the wrong, I think one of these is being mixed up. I'm going to have to sort that out later. I think that should be No wonder I was getting, nope, got it the wrong way around. Let's just take all of these off. Smoky slate. All right. Smoky slate. And cloud cover. That looks better. No wonder I was getting confused. So same thing with this one. I'm going to start with the cloud cover, and then I'm going to come in with a little bit of dark smoky slate. And then the light smoky slate. But you can always skip the cloud cover if you like. You can just do smoky slate, or you could just do light and dark cloud cover. That works as well. Alright. That, then I want Old Olive for the book. And we'll add a little bit of dark. Normally I would color the images before I die cut them, but I die cut these ahead of time so that they were ready to go, but I find it's a little easier to color when you've got a bit more space, a bit more to hold on to when you're coloring, particularly with small pieces like this. Alrighty, then we just need Poppy Parade for the last bit. You could also use Real Red for this if you don't have Poppy Parade. And we'll just add a little bit of the dark. Come back in with the light. Blend that in. There we go. Alrighty, so that is those. Let's move these out of the way. So all that is left to do now is to adhere everything. So let's start. I'm just going to add a little bit of adhesive to the back of the flower. And oh, that was a bit much. I was trying to spread that out. So we'll stick that there, and then we will add dimensionals to everything. Oops, where'd that go? Trying to escape. And okay, so that's that one, and then I'm gonna try and add a small piece to the flower. I just need something a little bit smaller than that. How about this one? And then we'll do the sentiment piece as well. Alrighty, now in the other one, so my sample and another one that I made, this piece was further over. So we are going to have to, you could always, well, kind of want him sitting there, but maybe we just bring this one up a little bit higher. We move him or her over right to the very edge. Bring this one up a little bit higher. And I think that will work. There we go, so right over on the edge there. And get all the backing pieces out of the way. This one right up there. And sentiment over the ribbon. Okay, and then all we need to do is add the insert. Okay, that one's down, and then for the embellishments, I'm using the was it Ladybug Garden Foxy Shapes, and we're just going to use one. Not using a lot on this one. I'm going to grab. Actually, that's right. With these ones, you are better to use. I found it much easier to use the pointy end. So I'm going to put one of the little ladybugs down there, and then a couple of, no, that's right, I went with the smaller ones. And these ones, because they're clear, they're quite difficult to see, but you just get that little bit of shine. Oops, get that in the right place. So that one is going there, and then another one over here. And there we go. And my Poppy Parade is, this one is quite thick, and it does need a good score to flatten properly. Alrighty, so there is card number 2. Alrighty, on to the final card. So this one, we have a Blackberry Bliss card base, and then I've used the new Stone and Vine embossing folder. So this is on Very Vanilla cardstock. So we have Very Vanilla for the insert for this one, and then I've got some of the Designer Series paper, some Mossy Meadow cardstock, Very Vanilla punched circle, Old Olive Stylish Shapes circle, and then some Very Vanilla for the sentiment, a die cut piece, and then we're going to stamp on this one as well. So let's start putting this together, and that will also help get pieces out of the way and not end up disappearing, falling onto the floor. So you definitely want to use a liquid glue if you can for adhering this embossed piece, because there's quite a lot to the design and it's quite thick. So you definitely want a glue that's going to get in to all those little nooks and crannies and adhere nicely. So definitely recommend a liquid glue for this one. So we'll get this one down, plus it also means you can adjust if you need to, as I almost always need to. Alrighty, so that one is down. Let's do the designer series paper. And then again, for adhering this to the embossed cardstock, a liquid glue is generally going to work better. And as with adhering the piece over the ribbon, which sometimes doesn't stick as well or as easily, similar with this, if you find it's not sticking properly and it's starting to pop up, weigh it down with some of your blocks or something heavy to hold it down while you do the rest of it, and that will help it to adhere a bit better. So I might actually do that with this one because it's also quite hot in here, which just isn't helping. So let's stack this one up. I got lots of blocks. That'll do. I've got one more. I got stuff on my blocks, so let's hold that down there for a little bit. Alrighty, sentiment, Mossy Meadow ink again. And we're going to ink the edges of this one. Now with this one, we want to stamp over to the right hand side of the block. Once I find the block of the cardstock, I was trying to find the block with my stamp, because some of this other end is going to sit underneath the die cut and punched circles. So you want this over to the right, but make sure you leave a little bit of room so that to punch the edge. And using the Happy Labels Pick a Punch for this one, and we're going to use this one over here on the left. Although when you flip it upside down, remember it's the one closest to you. So I'm just going to check how much space I've got. So I'm just going to line that up and punch. I'm happy with that. Decent amount of space at the end, but not too much. And I just realized I need the Mossy Meadow back, because this one we are inking up the edges again. So just lightly ink up the edges. I'm going to go all the way to the end just because I don't want to sort of go halfway and then realize I haven't gone far enough, but I don't need to worry about that top end there because that's going to be hidden. And then we'll just get some in on the punched edge. You don't need heaps, just a little bit of a border. Alright, so that is that bit done. Now we need, let's stamp this one. So we need Old Olive, and we're going to take the, where is it? So the flower and leaf image, and we want that over towards the right, down sort of down towards the bottom a bit. There we go, and then I'm going to bring in the little flower and grass image, and we're going to stamp that along and we'll just try and get a little bit more in there. That should be fine, because what we're going to do is bring in the Old Olive markers, and we're just going to add just a little bit extra, and we're going to do both light and dark just to get a little bit extra in some of those spots that are a bit harder to reach, or that you sort of can't stamp over easily without, you know, going over images you've already stamped. So just very rough, nothing fancy. And then while we're here, we will colour in the leaf. We might need to go over this one with the dark as well, I think, but we'll start off with the light, come back in, I think, with, well, I probably don't need to go fully dark. We'll just add a little bit and blend. I think that will be enough. Just an extra layer of the light should be sufficient, with a bit of the dark. And there's a couple of little leaves on the flower there. And for the flower petals for this one, I'm going with Daffodil Delight. And then cloud cover for the larger flowers. Alrighty, that should be enough. So, oh no, we need to do our little bug. So we will start with the light cloud cover. And then a little bit of dark smoky slate. And then the light smoky slate over the top. Then, oops, add a bit more there. Old olive for the book. So I'm going with exactly the same colors as I did for the second card for this particular bug. Mainly so that you don't need to have, 100 different colors. It's the same ones throughout, but of course you are welcome to use whatever you have on hand, and if you want completely different colors across the two cards, then go for it. Normally I do like to use lots of different colors, but I thought I'd keep this one, try and stick to the same few colors for everything, or as much as possible, so that if you don't have a whole lot, you can still complete it. Alrighty, so Poppy Parade for Michelle, and just a little bit of the dark, needs a bit up the top, come back in with the light, alrighty, now we can start putting this together. So let's adhere these two together, and my dog has decided to come back. She wandered off and now she's back. She's probably trying to find somewhere cool. Alrighty, so let's get that one down. Now take all my blocks off. Take my big one off. Alrighty. So that looks like it's stuck down pretty well. I'm happy with that. And you can always, once you put everything together, add the blocks back over it if you need to. Alrighty, so that one is going to sit about there, and the sentiment about there. We'll slide that along slightly. I'm happy with that. So add some adhesive. So we want it just back from the edge there in the center, and I always like to just double check before I press it right down to make sure it's going to work and I haven't messed up my measurements. Let's just straighten that up a bit. And we'll get this one down. That is going back there. We'll slide it down a little so it's a bit more even. Press that down. Then we just need some, where do they go? There they are. Dimensionals to pop this little one up. And dimensions go on the cardstock, not on my nails. Alright, let's get those backings off. And I'm just going to sit this one underneath, sort of in between the two little flowers, sitting under there. And then we're going to use the Ladybug Garden epoxy shapes again. Got to remember to use the pointy end for these. It's just a bit easier to pick them up. When they cooperate. Come on. Over you go, there we go. Sometimes you just have to coax them slightly. Alright, that one, and then the second one is going on the leaf there, and then I'm doing 3 of the large clear circles. And we should add the insert. Get that one down. Forward that over, and card number 3 is done. And that is all of the cards done. Let me bring them back in as I throw stuff all over the place. Alrighty, so these are the 3 cards for this week's class. Remember, you have until the end of Saturday night to get your orders in. And it's a minimum $75 before shipping and after any Stampin' Rewards redemption. And that is it for tonight. Next week is the Lovely and Beautiful suite, and that is also going to be the featured bundle or suite for my February Happy Mail Card Club. So I will give you a sneak peek of those projects next week as well, so you can see what we'll be making in club. But that is all I have for tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the projects. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions about any of the projects. Until next time, happy crafting. Bye.